Welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome here today to a full news roundup on the channel, because with no World Cup games on Wednesday or Thursday, I thought you'd probably be looking for some form of entertainment. And today, we've got a big roundup because we're going to be discussing genuine Barça news. We have in today's video club news, and I really have missed that, guys. I've got to be honest, over these past few weeks, I have missed talking about Barça. We're also going to be talking, though, of course, about the World Cup with full reaction from the round of 16 stage, which has seen victories there for France, for Brazil, but unfortunately not for Spain. They have been knocked out of the World Cup, and in today's video we're going to be looking not only at the results, not only at the performance, but especially as well at the style of play and some important questions that I feel must be asked. It is all coming up. Sit back, relax and enjoy. And come on, let's do this. Because indeed, guys, if we do kick off with the big news indeed, training is back underway at Barça. Barça, they're returning to training on Monday this week, led, of course, by Xavi, who is now back from the World Cup. And it was all of the players, really, and there wasn't that many of them that didn't take part in the World Cup from the first team. We saw Hector Bellerin sporting there a little bit of a new look for him. We had Marcos Alonso, Iñaki Peña, and also Sergi Roberto in those training sessions. Now, Roberto, he's back in training. He was declared fully fit and recovered from the shoulder injury, of course, that he picked up against Athletic Club, and that was actually one of Sergio Roberto's best performances of the season before he was forced off late in that one. It was also incredible to see, not in the main session, not in the full session with the team, but Araujo, he's back in Barcelona and he was working there very hard, of course, on his recovery throughout this week. He suffered World Cup disappointment with Uruguay. Of course, in the end, he didn't manage to play a single minute, but it is great to see him back here at the club, continuing that recovery now, and crucially, at his own pace. There's no rush now. There's no need to cut any corners. He can go through the right process with all of the right recovery time, and he is going to be targeting a return now in that first game back at the end of this month against Espanyol, and I truly cannot wait for that. And Franck Kessie as well. He was joining there Araujo in those recovery sessions. He is still recovering from his own injury setback that he suffered before the World Cup break. But already with Kessie, guys, there's plenty of transfer speculation. Ahead of the January transfer window, we're already hearing here links back to Serie A for Kessie there. Inter and Napoli reportedly very interested in him if he was to leave Barcelona. But I think the feeling there from the player, and indeed we've heard his agent several times already over the past few months, that it's early days right now in his Barca career. Still plenty more to come on his side. Of course, he struggled for minutes under Xavi, struggled to really gain prominence in that midfield, but Kessie is determined to succeed here. That's why he chose to join Barca. That is why he turned down several other proposals to actually be here on that free transfer. But he's going to have to work hard now in that new year and in the second half of the season to prove himself in Xavi's plans. And there is also news as well on Robert Lewandowski. Obviously, we're going to talk about him later when it comes to the World Cup. You know, unfortunately, that coming to an end there for Poland. But Lewandowski has been given a few extra days off there by the club, given the fact that he went to the round of 16 stage. He is going to have until December the 14th there. That will be the date that he will return to training. But unfortunately, on Lewandowski, we know now he's not going to be available for those first few games back because Barca appealed his 3-match ban, but that appeal has been dismissed. There is no change on Lewandowski's suspension, and he will miss 3 games after that red card against Osasuna. And there has also been some confirmed club information breaking this week there on the Barca documentary that's going to be coming to our screens there on Amazon Prime. FC Barcelona, a new era, is confirmed now to be with us on December the 28th there. So only a few days before we're back in action, that is going to hit the screens. Barca have actually released a trailer on the series, and that already gave us an insight as to what we could expect there. We saw significant moments in that trailer there of Koeman sacking from the club. Of course, Messi's emotional departure as well, and we are going to get an inside look there into board level at the club. And you think about some of the transfer windows that we've seen over these past few seasons, that's going to be really, really fascinating to see the deals that were being done and the conversations that were being had. And of course, we're going to see behind the scenes footage there inside the dressing room. You can see Xavi here ahead of El Clasico, not only saying that he'd pay to play, he'd want to be involved that much, but also that Barca were a better team than Real Madrid. That's all going to be coming very soon. And I did just want to share this with you as well, guys, and just discuss here what's happening at the Camp Nou right now, because these images have been circulating over the past few days, and as you can see, there's quite a drastic change going on here. There's a lot of the stadium right now that is ultimately being taken away. That is what we are seeing right now. We saw a few weeks ago the scoreboard at the club, the famous scoreboard there, that has illustrated so many wondrous nights in this stadium being taken away forever, and work is well underway now. You know, on the third tier especially, we are seeing plenty of redevelopment and certainly renovations being done, and I think seeing these images, guys, seeing this stadium sort of being taken apart piece by piece, if you like, it's going to be emotional. There's no question about that here. I think we all admit, you know, renovation needs to happen. You know, we've been waiting such a long time for the S by Barca project, and now it's finally happening, but it's still going to be sad. It's still going to be really emotional watching it transform and watching it sort of leave us in a way. And we are going to see much, much more of this work happening in the coming months. And of course, next season, we will play away from the Camp Nou while that work continues. But if we do indeed now cross over to the World Cup and some of the significant moments that we've been seeing over the past few days, and especially involving Barca players, starting here with France's victory over Poland, where of course we had Barca interest on both sides of this one. Now, Jules Koundé got himself in a bit of trouble in this game with his necklaces. He actually wore those there out on the field. He completely forgot, apparently, to take them off. They should have been removed before kickoff, but luckily there was a member of staff on hand to help him out there when taking a throw-in. But just imagine the pressure. Forget playing in the World Cup, guys. Imagine the pressure there, the time-sensitive mission of getting those necklaces off Koundé in the time limit required. That there takes nerves of steel in that moment, so that was interesting. But on France, they were too strong once again. You know, there were moments in this game where Poland had them rattled, you know, where Poland could have got a goal, or maybe even two spells of the game where they had moments, but France were just too good, too powerful in that front line. And we were treated yet again to another assist from Ousmane Dembele. That is his second now of the tournament. And again, it was Mbappe who was supplied. And he has been outstanding so far at this tournament, Dembele, linking up well with Mbappe, who himself has 5 World Cup goals to his name. And you just think there about that attacking force from France. You've got Mbappe, you've got Dembele, Griezmann there as well, dropping in behind those and leading them all, Olivier Giroud. He has been absolutely outstanding at this World Cup for France. And on Saturday, we have a mouth-watering clash there to look forward to. Dembele and Koundé, they're certainly going to be involved. It's France against England in the quarter-final of the World Cup. That is going to be fascinating. But of course, on the flip side of that, for Robert Lewandowski, his World Cup there with Poland has come to an end. But I think even getting out of the group, that was a big achievement there for Lewandowski and indeed this Poland team. And I'm also just so happy that he got his World Cup goal. That's what he came here for. He leaves not only with 1 now, but actually with 2 World Cup goals to his name. He doubled his tally there in the final moments against France. But again, it was just about from the penalty spot, because he actually missed the first penalty before Lloris was then judged to have been off his line. But Lewandowski, he was lucky there, because again we saw, and even then in the retake, that stuttering run-up that we've seen several times recently, and it just doesn't seem to be working. And I don't know why Lewandowski feels like he has to do it. He is such a good ball striker. He can hit the ball there with such power, such precision, such accuracy. He doesn't need to be stuttering in his run-up. He doesn't need that to be trying to get in the goalkeeper's head. You know, he can just bury that ball. He is good enough from that area. We know that only too well. And I think there he just needs to simplify those penalties right now, because they haven't been very convincing. But speaking of convincing, let's now move on to talk about this Brazil team who absolutely dismantled South Korea, especially in that first half. And I've got to give huge credit here to Rafinha, because he may not get, the headlines in terms of he didn't score in this game. He only got the 1 assist. It was a brilliant one there to open the scoring, setting up Vinicius Jr., but he was excellent in his performance there in terms of the way that he looks after the ball, his hard work, and indeed the cutting edge in the final third. He is a massive part of this utterly impressive Brazilian team. And that didn't go unnoticed either, by the way. Neymar was awarded the Player of the Match award, but after the game, Neymar said, if I had to give this to one of my other teammates, it would be tough, it would be difficult to pick one, given that they are all so good. But Neymar said, I would pick Rafinha. I would choose him as my player of the match today. So Rafinha certainly providing quality, and that World Cup goal surely now is only just around the corner for him. But of course there has been plenty of claims of disrespect there from Brazil towards their opponents because of the celebrations to the goal, the dancing. A lot of people don't like that. But I just gotta say, guys, I don't know why this is a thing, really, because this, for me, this is Brazil. At World Cups, you know, they're enjoying it. They're providing that feeling and the emotion that they bring, not only in terms of the celebrations, but in terms of their football. And they weren't celebrating in front of South Korea. They weren't celebrating in front of South Korea's fans. They weren't doing it towards their opponents. They were doing it for each other. You know, you saw them on the touchline there. You've got characters like Neymar, like Dani Alves. He's 39 years old at a World Cup. Of course he's going to be dancing. You look at Tite, the coach, he's over 60, and he was involved there as well. Every player from Brazil has played minutes at this World Cup. They're a really tight-knit group, and they are enjoying themselves. And look at the goals that they scored. Why shouldn't they enjoy some of those moments that they're living here at this World Cup? But if you're talking about enjoyment, if you're talking about celebration, you're not talking about Spain. Now, before we get on to Spain and their performance, I just want to say huge congratulations to Morocco, because before we even talk about Spain, what we have to say is Morocco have been incredible in this World Cup. Game by game, they've been gathering momentum. They have been gathering real confidence amongst their team. Their fans were unbelievable. Inside the stadium, it felt like a Moroccan home game. It felt as though last night Spain were definitely the away team, and by some distance. And on the field there, the team have incredible spirit, energy, togetherness, everything you need there to cause a shot like this. What a night it was for Moroccan football history, and what an experience this is going to be, guys, for young Abde there. He got on in the second half there. He's been together with this group and enjoying every single moment. And a World Cup like this and an experience like this for a young player, what a time it must be for him. And if we first of all look at the penalties, because ultimately, guys, that's where Spain lost. We're going to talk about the performance, we're going to talk about the style of play, but ultimately, when it came to penalties, they still had a chance to go through, and it was woeful. These were some of the worst penalties I've seen, and we've seen a lot of bad ones at the World Cup so far, to be honest. Now, Morocco took the lead, of course, then Sarabia stepped up, missed, and it was sort of ironic because he actually hit the left-hand post there in the final seconds of extra time. He then stepped up to take his penalty, and he hit the right-hand post. So Sarabia there just inches away on both sides from something special, but in the end, falling short. But Soler's penalty, this is a guy who is so consistent from the spot there. When he was at Valencia, he hit penalties for fun. He is an absolutely phenomenal taker. He just went to pieces. Obviously, they're the nerves getting on top of him, because that was not a penalty that he would produce. But then, Busquets. Can anybody explain why you would have Sergio Busquets take a penalty? This is a guy who really doesn't like shooting. We have seen him at Barca over the years not only pretty much never take a penalty, I don't know if that has ever happened, but in terms of just shooting there from anywhere on the field, he'd rather pass. And that was kind of the way that it looked there when he stepped up for the penalty. He tried to pass it into the net, and the power wasn't there, and it seemed like it was never going to be. That was a really, really strange choice. And Spain losing 3-0 on penalties. It was shocking, but I just think their whole performance, I think actually throughout the game, it was almost as though they were asking for trouble. It was almost as though they were very, very close to this nightmare, and then it happened. Because yes, they had so much of the ball once again, but the problem here with me is that you could almost see comparisons with this Spain team and Barca at times, whereby you have the ball. You think then you've got control of the game. You think then that you're putting pressure on your opponents, that you're going to find a way through, that it's all going to click into place. But more often than not right now, it's just not happening. These teams seem to know not only how to set themselves up. You know, we saw Morocco yesterday sitting very, very deep. Of course, it's a very low block. It's difficult to find a way through. It's difficult to find space. But not only that now, these teams know that when they do win the ball back, when Spain do lose possession, they can then hurt you. And we see that at Barca, whereby we're so high up the pitch, we're camping in our opponent's half. But then, if that ball is turned over, they can slice through your team. And that is happening over and over and over again. Even yesterday, Spain there being caught in behind by Morocco several times. And it just feels as though right now, looking at this World Cup as a whole, you know, the teams that are doing well, the teams that are excelling and progressing to the next stage, you need again now that vocal point in attack. There is no good here lining up without penetration in your forward line, without somebody there who's going to be in and around the box, who's going to be making runs in behind the defence, who's going to be offering a different sort of angle. Because you look at every team left in this tournament right now, it is very much the return of the number 9. You've got Richarlison for Brazil, who's impressing. You've got France there with Olivier Giroud. England have got Kane. Argentina have got Julian Alvarez. Gakpo has been brilliant for the Netherlands. And just look last night at what Portugal did there with Gonzalo Ramos in the starting lineup, the first hat-trick of the tournament. You need that 9. You need that profile there who's constantly going to be looking to get that goal. We know we saw Morata come off the bench yesterday, but unfortunately, that's not enough for Spain. That is not good enough at this level. And just again to draw comparisons from Spain to Barça, you know, looking at what they're doing, looking at what we're doing, that is why I'm still so glad we did sign Lewandowski, because all of that possession, all of that control, you know, sitting in your opponent's half there, having that territorial advantage, it will mean nothing unless you seal it with a goal. It will mean nothing unless you have that genuine threat that Spain didn't have yesterday. And I do feel for our players, and I do feel for so many of those that were involved in the squad, of course, from Barcelona. It's not a nice experience. It's not going to be good for them in terms of how they're feeling mentally right now. Because for Spain, it is yet another early exit from the World Cup. And that is a great shame. And if we're looking right now at how the draw is shaping up and how those quarterfinals are looking, I think it's absolutely enthralling. In the quarterfinal there, we've got the Netherlands up against Argentina in the top section of the draw. Then, in the same side, Croatia against Brazil there. Brazil, of course, are going to go into that game as the firm favourites. Argentina and the Netherlands is very difficult to split. Then over the other side, you've got England against France. Like I say, that is going to be a colossal meeting there. Portugal now are going to come up against Morocco, and it's going to be fascinating to see what Portugal do against Morocco, because I feel like they're going to approach the game very differently to what Spain did, offering different kinds of threats, and that'll be interesting to see how Morocco then alter their game plan in that one. But I am just really interested, guys, certainly today, to know your thoughts on everything that we discussed, and there has been a lot of stuff that we've got through today. But on Spain there, and that performance, and the way that we've seen them play, comparisons there with Barca, what needs to change in that style? What needs to change in that approach? And do you see this now as conclusive proof that the number 9, that profile that we seem to be veering away from in football for a little bit of time, is it back? And what do you envisage happening for the rest of this tournament? Please do let me know all of your comments and your thoughts down below. Thank you indeed for joining me here today, for getting involved. I really do appreciate it. And the content will keep coming as these big games are on the horizon now. I will see you soon for all of that, guys. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.